What is up, my friend? Welcome to episode 46 of the Anthony John Amix podcast. Today, I thought I'd bring on Megan Darger to talk about how Vipassana meditation can transform your life. She recently just finished her second 10-day Vipassana experience, and I know she has some wisdom to share that she found within the dark recesses of her own being that will help you break through to a new level of success. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Anthony John Amix podcast, the one and only podcast designed to help you become unstoppable in life and business. My name is Anthony John Amix. My friends call me AJ, and my goal with this podcast is to help you remember who you truly are so you can maintain your center in the chaos, embody your potential, and unlock freedom in your life and business. That being said, let's get into today's show.
All right, welcome back. I'm extremely excited to talk with today's guest because I too have attended a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat. I did mine back in 2017, I believe, and really it was one of the hardest things that I've done in my life. It was like 10 days of silence. For 10 days, I couldn't talk with anyone, couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't exercise, I couldn't look anyone in the eye because that's considered like nonverbal communication. I mean, essentially, for 10 days, all I could do was meditate for 10 to 12 hours a day, eat vegan food for breakfast, lunch, and then on dinner, we just had like a glass of ginger tea, so we really didn't eat dinner. And during the day, every now and then I had a few breaks, and I could like walk on the nature trail. Like that's it. That's all I could do. And I'm here to tell you, like, it was so hard, both like mentally, physically, emotionally. It was hard. It was equally as hard as running a 5K Spartan race, which I've completed that too. I mean, it was hard, but I'll tell you, it was very, very much well worth it. Pretty much like anything that's hard kind of seems to be, right? I learned so much about myself. I learned so many practical life lessons, which I'm sure we'll explore during my conversation with Megan today. Now, if you don't know Megan Darger, she's an absolute rock star. She's the creator of the Goddess Experience, which is all about helping empower women to live their full, authentic power. And she's also the co-creator of this retreat called Sextasy, which is an event that she runs with her husband, Christopher John Stubbs. You may remember him from episode number 4. And the event's really all about helping couples break through to a new level of intimacy and connection. It's a very high integrity event. Christopher and his wife are amazing human beings. I'd actually highly recommend the event. Now, before I bring Megan on, I want you to know about my book called Mindset is Not Enough. I mean, so many entrepreneurs these days, they think they just need the right mindset in order to achieve the goals that they've set out for themselves. Yet if that was the case, wouldn't pretty much every entrepreneur who's read books like Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, or they've purchased some online course on bulletproof mindset, wouldn't they have the level of success and feelings of freedom and happiness that they desire right now? Like right now, I can think of several individuals who have invested in mastering their mindset, yet within themselves, they still feel like that they're not as far along as they should be by now. Now, if you can relate to this, I highly recommend that you get my book called Mindset is Not Enough, and you can get the entire book for free by going to ajamix.com/book. Again, just go to ajamix.com/book to get the entire book for free. Now, with that being said, let's bring Megan onto the podcast. Megan, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Well, I'm excited today because it's been an act of God to make this happen. So, we'll have a good conversation.
Yes. I'm super grateful to be here. I'm happy. Thank you.
Now, I feel like today is going to be pretty juicy. We're going to be talking about how Vipassana meditation can really transform your life, and we're going to get into that today for sure. But before we do, I want to get to know you, and I want people to get to know you. I feel like you're like this ginormous, huge ball of radiant light. You're full of energy. You're fierce. You're friendly. You're just unapologetically just you, and it's something I really honor and respect about you. So I'm kind of curious, have you always been that way, or has it been a journey of pulling back the layers and integrating the lessons to kind of be who you are today?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Most definitely. It's been a journey of just exactly what you said, of pulling back those layers and discovering and really reclaiming all these parts of myself and becoming who I truly am. And though there was this part of me at a very, very young age that knew, it's I could kind of see through the BS. I grew up in a very religious family, and just a lot of dogma, a lot of patriarch, all that kind of stuff. And from the very, I knew the second I'm 18, I'm free. I'm leaving. And that's kind of how I've been. I was the first child out of my parents to leave, like actually on their own. Like at 18, I was like, I'm gone. And then it was just like, hey, like I left, and then it was like, who am I? And that was my question, was who am I? And like, where do I go now? Like, and that led me on many, many journeys. It led me to meet my husband, which we've been together for, I think, like 13, I don't even know now, like 13 years or something. And we both really started our journey together of conscious co-creation, starting with the Hendricks Institute. And we are both trained through Gay and Katie Hendricks. They're really close dear friends of ours. So we've been going to them for years, but I feel really, really extremely blessed. When I moved out when I was 18, it was around 19 that I went to their very first training. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like I was just soaking in all this information. I'm like, I found something that actually like aligns, that feels like delicious to me. And that I can start to, uncover these parts of myself. And so we started out together on this journey of growth and learning and conscious partnership and co-creation. And so I feel really, really blessed that I've been able to have these skill sets, these mindsets, all of this from really at a young age. And then I would say a big part of my journey thus far, though, was when about 5-6 years ago, I got diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. And I had a 5-year journey initiation with chronic Lyme. And it was the most intense experience of my life. And it was the most liberating experience of my life. And I learned so much about myself. And it was really my journey back to love, because that was actually the question I went in. Like I had this specific day and this moment in time where I was like, I'm done. Like I was like, I'm done fucking around. And I was like, I want to know love, and especially like self-love, because it's what I struggled with most. And life is like, okay, honey, are you ready? I didn't like really know what I signed up for. But boom, this journey began, and it was really intense and powerful and beautiful. And really the biggest thing was I was just integrating, and really like, especially everything that I had been learning for years and years and taking in, and all this information and all of that. Although a lot of it I was getting, like a lot of their stuff too is body-centered awareness and conscious communication, relationship skills, and all of that. It was just like this time in my life that was like, okay, it's time to really practice what you preach and integrate these things that you've learned. And that's really where like I feel like I took back my life. I took back my power, and I really found who I was, and just began this journey of self-love, which is continuous still to this day. But I can say that I love myself and my life more than ever, and it just continuously gets better and better and better.
Awesome. Now, were you asking the question before the chronic Lyme disease, or were you asking the question during it?
It was before.
Before. Awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit part of my soul purpose. And I had this experience and a reading and all this kind of stuff. And my soul purpose is love. Now that is everybody's purpose, really. Like that was like, I was like, what do you mean it's love? Like that's everybody's purpose, right? I was like, kind of like, and it was like, no, like who you are and where you come from and just all these things. Like I have with my centers, like I have like 40% heart chakra, where a lot of my gifts come from. And so just anyways, through these things, I was like, wait, what? And it just stirred this thing with me, like, okay, well, I'm done. Like, I want to know, like, and it was like, this is your greatest gift, but is also like the thing that you struggle with the most. And it was like, I was just in so much judgment all the time, and always just everything in my life was like, well, if I do this, then I'll be loved. And if I do this, like if I eat super healthy. I was a raw vegan for 10 years. And, I was like, this is the supreme diet. And like, if I work out and I do all these things and I'm like, right, then I'll be loved. And I was doing it for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Just like success equation bullshit, right?
Yeah. And so like all those things were stripped from me. It was like, doesn't matter what you do. Can you love yourself now? Can you be in like the ultimate pain, which that's what it was. I was in physical pain day in and day out, year after year. And I went to clinic after clinic and just again, searching outside myself, please help me, please take away this pain. Like, oh my God, like I want to die. There was multiple times I was ready to end it. And again, it was just bringing me back to myself, bringing me back to the truth, bringing me back to love again and again and again. And so, yeah, it was a powerful journey, but I asked for that. There was like literally this moment where I said that. I was like, I'm ready. I want to know. And then it came.
So what is your definition of self-love? Because I'm afraid some people listen to this and they're going to be, oh, hugs and cotton candy and rainbows and unicorns. So like, how would you define self-love?
Self-love to me, and really self-love is also unconditional love for oneself. And to me, what unconditional love is I would say that to be without condition, to show up with myself through anything and everything, and to be with myself, to accept everything and anything and everything that life is bringing to me, whatever is arising within me. It's just asking for my loving awareness and attention. And so for me to just be with that, and I go a lot into being, that's also what I've done with my women's retreats, and a lot around the divine feminine and unconditional love and self-love, because really I feel the core of everything comes back to this self-love. And beingness, which, I just went into the depths of that again and again. I had powerful experiences through my Lyme journey, and then it's just continued to go deeper and deeper. And that's even my experience with Vipassana this round, around that whole experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, whoa, just being with ourselves so deeply, so intimately, and all aspects of ourselves. I think that, there's all the beautiful, the hugs and cuddles and all the gooey stuff with self-love. There's lots of things that we can do, lots of self-love practices, because that is to me also what self-love. It's this continuous practice. For me, it's this practice of coming to the heart and coming to the body and saying, hey, how are you doing? Like, what are you feeling today? How are you doing? Like, how, what can I do for you? And meeting myself without needing to change myself or fix myself or have a certain condition, but just to actually be with what is present and right here.
Yeah, I love it. Totally. That's the conclusion I've came to. Your husband, Christopher John Stubbs, has been a big proponent in helping me understand that whole gift. Mm-hmm. And since you experienced chronic Lyme disease and you really had to deal with this concept of death, I'm curious, do you think it helped you kind of open up to your capacity to really experience the depths of love, like learning to even love yourself in being with death, which is, of course, most humans' biggest concern, especially with what's going on in the current world right now. I've been on record saying, hey, this is just like the world making you deal with fucking death. Like, you got to be okay with it. And if you're cool with it, like, it's really not that scary. And I'm not trying to downplay what's going on. I'm not trying to be not compassionate or have empathy for those who have experienced that. I'm also just kind of being direct and bringing a little bit of truth. Because when you can be with that death, it really opens up, like you say, like that capacity for love. Is that what you experienced in that whole journey?
Yes. And I totally agree with everything that you just said. Through this whole experience, it's just been so beautiful to watch everything unfold. Yes, me having to face death multiple times. And really it was also a journey of surrender. So surrendering again and again, of not knowing, like, yep, tonight, there was multiple times where I didn't know if I was going to make it through the night, and having to surrender to that process, and then having, deep, powerful experiences too of what death is really to me, and coming to a place where I'm like, I'm not afraid to die, not afraid to die. Like, if anything, like for most people, they're afraid to live. And so for me, because death to me is it's just a transition from matter to light. Like, it's an illusion, right? That we've all bought into, and not saying, and I experience deaths all the time. And it's this continuous, like, can I surrender to this now? And can I surrender to this now? And can I die to this and be reborn again? And it happens all the time. And I'm experiencing more and more and more. And through it, I have experienced like the most unbelievable experiences of my life, the most ecstatic bliss, ecstasy, love, joy, connection, and the full range of emotions, the full spectrum. But like, can I die to this? Can I surrender to this and just let it consume me and take me, and just open myself up to all that is here, and which it is all just love. And it's just love. Like when you actually just be with it, like we don't tend to want to be with that uncomfortableness. And that was my experience in Vipassana. It came up so deep where I was like, what? I mean, like I've been on this journey for a really long time, and these deep parts of myself, these deep rooted sankharas literally coming to the surface, and I got to be with them. And most of us don't want to do that. We don't have the courage and the willingness. Really, it's just this willingness to go there and to surrender.
Do you find surrender and the death is really more of the surrender and death to the meanings and the stories, or is it something different?
To the meanings and the stories.
Yeah.
You know, everything, all that we thought that we knew. And then we come through the other side and we're just like, oh, wow. You feel so much more free and lighter and more of you. And it's such a powerful, liberating experience. Lyme taught me so much about surrender, because it was journey to love, but that was the path. The path was surrender again and again, because it was, you know, especially all the skills that I'd known and everything, you know, and even my husband, right? He was like, I help so many people, but I can't help my wife. She's so sick and she's just on her deathbed, and I don't know what to do. And he learned so much through that too. And really what it was just like, can he just be with me in the midst of all of that, allowing me to have my process and just loving me through it, that this is his experience, that he didn't need to change me or fix me or change and fix the thing, you know, because that was even some of our patterns of like, okay, we got to do something here. And I would have these high, I'd start to do really good and I'd be like, yes. And in that I learned so much. So I'm like, yes, like I got this, like I've kicked it in the butt, you know? And then boom, I'd crash again. And this is like how it was for years. And I'd be like, what? I'm here again? Like, I don't get this. Like, I've learned so much. I've come so far. I've had just the most amazing experiences and awarenesses, and like, I'm here again. And it was like, every time, just, there's more. Like, can you surrender to this? Let me, like, and the more I would just surrender, then the easier it could be. And the gifts I would receive, I wouldn't want it any other way. And so it's just like surrendering every single time, till even the very last crash that I had, you know, that was a journey in itself of like coming to this point. I was like, oh, I'm here again. And for like 1 second, I was like, what? And I was like, oh, no. I'm like, if I'm here, that means that there's more. And that means it's only bringing me like the greatest gift ever. Here I am, life. Have your way with me. What else? What else is there? And I just opened to it. Like every time it was like opening up to it easier and easier, and just surrendering and loving myself. Like that was that process, just surrender. And I can be in excruciating pain, or I can be in my bed and all of that. And the best thing that I can do right now is just to love myself, to give myself what I need, to self-care, and then loving that part, like whatever it is that was coming up, you know, that part that was like, what the fuck, I'm here again. Oh yeah. Hi, you're here. Yeah. You're just asking for my loving awareness and attention too. And that final piece really was, which was what I shared with you with the self-love, which was being with myself as never before without conditions. Like I'm like, and I had to surrender to the fact of being in pain for the rest of my life. That's where I still had this charge. I was not okay, because by this time I'd hit this level of like, if this has to continue, I'm done and I'm out of this game. And I'm aware that this is a fucking game and I'm done. Like I've done really amazing. I've come so far, but I'm done. Like I'm done. And then when it was brought to my awareness, you know, it was like, could you be okay with living with this pain for the rest of your life? And I was like, oh, no. I'm not willing to surrender to even that. And once I surrendered to that, then I'm like, I'm here for you. I love you. I got you. I will be with this for as long as I get to, as long as I need. If that's my entire life, like I surrender and I will not, like, I'm like, I am here And I was even a declaration that I made, like I made an actual commitment to being here in my body and on this planet. And that was hard, like, because for so long I was leaving, like I was like, get me out of this body because it's too fucking intense, all this pain all the time. So for me to consciously choose and commit to being here, to being with it, and to not taking myself out, which is what I had done in the past, was this everything, that commitment. And then I was like, I'm here. I'm here, Megan. I'm here to be with you. I love you. There's nothing wrong. I'm not here to fix you or change you. I'm not here because if I do, then the pain will go away and then I'll be cured or whatever. Nope. I'm done with this game. I'm here to just be with you and love you as you are. And if nothing ever changes, that's okay. And everything changed.
What within you led you to that conclusion and then to that commitment? Because it is a decision, right? But what ultimately led you to that decision and then to the full-on commitment of that? Because I think a lot of people would totally choose out.
It's really, it's part of that journey, right? It's like I had to get these things before I could get this, and I had to get this before I could get this. And that's why it's like being patient with ourselves. Like we want it right now, right? And it's like, no, honey, just be patient, like surrender, just relax, like, and it will come to you. Like, and and that's what's so beautiful is like, I really do feel like, especially me, I can show up and support people that it doesn't have to take them 5 years to go through this journey as I did. Like, I felt like I was a baby, like and really, because people ask me like, well, how did you heal this? Like, that's incurable. Like, and it's gone, like every fiber, like this is complete. And and for me, it was such an emotional, mental, spiritual journey. Like the physical, I did all the physical pieces and none of it worked. I'm sure it assisted me, but, and I still did that, but it was so much bigger for me and it was teaching me so much. And from the very beginning, it was just like, can you know that this is the greatest gift I'm bringing you? And that's really, I started that. At first I had a lot of anger and frustration and the stuff that I got to be with all of that, because I was like, how the fuck is this happening to me? I'm the healthiest person alive. Like, so all this judgment and anger and all these things. But I just kept getting these pieces and it would lead to the next. And through my own practices and study, and another really big thing that really assisted me was breath work. The breath really, because I could take myself towards the end, like the last year, I could take myself from a level 10 pain to no pain. And it was through the practicing of coming into present moment awareness and being with myself. And when I would do that and I would breathe and connect my breath, I would literally take myself into completely different dimensions and frequencies, and I wouldn't have pain at all throughout my body. And so really it was just like, I'm like, okay, how do I get to integrate this, that I can experience this all the time? And that's why I say really the whole journey, like the only thing that I was doing and all I really feel all that we're doing here on this planet is we're all just integrating. So if we can just like lovingly hold ourselves and just say, give ourselves a break and say, honey, you're doing the best you can. You've got this. It's just a matter of time. We're just integrating. And the best thing that we can do along that path is to love ourselves. Life will give those things to you, and it knows just how much to give you to wake you the fuck up. That's life. Like it will hand you. I don't need to get in anybody else's business or tell them, or try to fix them or hero them. Life will bring it to them. And that's a part of love, I feel, is to allow others to, evolve in their own time, in their own way. And I don't need to force my stuff onto them, just to be that loving presence, to just see them like this is a conscious being with choice. And this is what they're choosing at this moment. It changes everything. Like, could you imagine if we saw everybody just sitting back and just kind of like gaze at them and say, this is a conscious being with choice. I promise you, everything changes. And so it was just a journey. And it was like, I got this piece and then I was like, oh, and these things would just come to me. Like, right? Like this book was landed in my lap and I read it and these things clicked. And, a few of the big components, if anybody wants like recommendation, number one book of my life, and I've read it about, no joke, 100 times or more, or listened to it, is Love Without Conditions by Paul Ferrini. And and even that, like, right? He talks about that. He talks about unconditional love, and he talks about that beingness, but it was just like, again, it's one thing to understand it here, and it's a whole nother thing to experience it and embody it.
Totally.
So that was like my go-to throughout the entire experience. That was that book that I'd return to. That was a big one. There's The Great Pain Deception towards the end. That was it was huge for me. It just basically dispelled, like, just lets you know, like, really what pain is. And it came at the perfect time in my life. And I had some really powerful experiences in the midst of reading that. And being with my inner child and holding myself, because there was even a story that I had picked up as a child, that something was wrong with me, that I had gotten again and again, because as a child, I was a very, like, empathetic, I was this moody little child. Like, I was like, don't touch me. Like, it was like, what is this? And so, you know, my siblings, my parents were always like, what's wrong with Megan? Right? Like, and I just took that in again and again, like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And brought that into this physical experience, that's feeling like that there was something wrong with me. There was something wrong with my body. And that book really helped a whole bunch of things, understanding what pain is, and getting out and just moving my body like as never before. And then, some just deep emotional stuff, because he goes into it's emotional. So that was a huge component towards the end. The presence process was a huge one. And that's the one that I did a lot of my breath work with, that he was the one that taught me, Michael Brown. That's the one that I would do. And so towards the last crash that I had, and by that time I had come so far. And that was the thing, is I knew to go in. Come here. They're not out here. At halfway through, I was like, it's not out here, Megan. After going and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars at clinics and not having like any result, I was like, hey, it's not out here. It's in here. And so that was the practice of coming back, which is, again, coming back here, saying to the heart, right? To my body, to my heart, like, this knows, like, my body knows, my heart knows. And so coming back to that and saying, hey, honey, what do you need? And having a deeper connection with myself, with my body, with my higher self. And then it would tell me, you know, so that last one, my higher self clearly said, honey, there's more. And I was like, you're right. I know. Okay. I surrender to this. Show me. And she would tell me things. One, she says, you know, I'm still, you know, trying little protocols too, right? The physical. And she's like, you can do that. You can do those things, or your breath can do it for you. And I was like, what? Like, you can take all that, or your breath can do it for you. And I'm just like, wait. And had an experience, you know, of also why I was taking those things. Again, it was like, okay, this will fix me, right? This will heal me, right? And so I had a whole nother experience of coming to terms like, no, I'm done with taking all this stuff. I'm done with this. Like, I'm going to listen to my body. And unless it's a hell yes to take it, and it was like, oh, this is going to help me thrive, and like, this just brings more yumminess to my being, then awesome, I'll take that. But I'm not taking something again, because if I do, this will fix this problem. And so that shifted everything. And then, you know, when she's like, your breath will do it for you, I was like, oh my gosh. And she told me, she's like, just play with your breath. These things will come to you. I will bring them to you. And what you need is consistency and doing it for a longer period of time. Because I'd done breath work, I'd done different things, but not consistently and for long periods of time. And so I resisted it for like a month. Like, my whole thing, like, my being was like, no, like, and I'd like meditate and tune in. It was like I told you. And I was like, okay, I finally came to this day where I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm ready to fully commit. And I committed, and with the consistency doing it. And I was doing it every morning, every night, for at least 20 minutes to 40 minutes to an hour. And the magic that started to unfold, like, literally within a week's time. And I had moved, like, just within the first week, just my breath would literally, all these emotions would come through, all this sensation would move through my body, like massive sensations, burning, aching, all these things. And then it just got easier and lighter and easier. And within a week, I was taking myself from a level 10 pain to nothing.
Amazing.
So
I feel like this is a good segue into Vipassana, because I
Vipassana,
think there's
yeah,
gonna be a lot of lessons that's gonna anchor all of this pre-frame. So
perfect.
what led you to Vipassana? I'm excited to talk about this because I don't get to talk a lot about to a lot of people who have been through the 10-day experience. I've been through it myself, and so it's like a secret club we kind of belong to.
Lindsay, when I'm done. Thank you. My daughter
Yeah,
just
no worries, no worries.
Yes, so with Vipassana, I had actually done Vipassana about 10 years ago. And like, I remember getting stuff from it, but there was still things that, number one, it was really, really hard. I remember 10 years ago, but I feel like I wasn't like fully like ready or like committed. It was just kind of like, well, kind of, like I just did it. And I know I received some magical gifts from that back then, but I've been wanting to do it for a really long time, because I'm such a completely different person. Like, I remember back then when I did 10 years ago, like, really, it was super uncomfortable, right? Like, for me to sit that long, like, I'm like, what the crap? This is so like, I mean, just everything. And like, I was like, this freaking sucks.
And their advice is the best, right? You're like, I'm
Right?
hurting, change your pasta. And this isn't working, breathe. You're like, that's the only two things I
You're
tell
just
you.
like,
Change your pasta,
oh
breathe.
my, right? And so, I've been wanting to do it because I'm like, I'm such a different person. Number one, I've been meditating like for a really long time, or before I hadn't meditated. And, through my breath work, when I was doing my breath work too, I would sit, and posture up for 20 minutes to an hour, breathing. And in the first time of, when I first started breath work, right, the monkey mind coming in, all this different stuff, and like, oh, there's pain right there. But I just knew, keep breathing. And sure enough, I would literally keep breathing, and then boom, the pain would disappear. Like a certain sensation, like just right in the middle of my back. There's a specific spot that I get, and it's feedback. And so that spot would come, or before, like obviously with the Lyme, it was more a whole body. Like my body was just always aching, always in pain. And so I would take myself to where I was in no pain at all. So I was like, if I can sit that long, and, I'm already meditating, like, and then just who I am as a being, I'm like, I can't imagine what this experience is going to be like. It's going to be so amazing. So I've been wanting to do it for years, for probably actually the last 4 years. But then I had my baby, and he's been really little. And so it's just been this desire. Like, I'm like, I want to do this again. And then this opportunity showed up, and it was just random. Like, I've been creating a lot of stuff the past 6-8 months, and I've just been more a little like in my go, more in my masculine. And I was like, I want to break. And this is something that I do. It's one of my actual acts of self-love that I take, on the weekly, I take myself on a date, right? Like, I'm like, I got to have me time. So yes, me time every day, in the sense of, okay, if I'm going to meditate or whatever, but like, I want to go outside. I want to be like, go for a hike, like just be with myself is so critical for me. And then taking myself at least once, but if not, I really need like 2 times a year, I go on a sabbatical with myself, nobody else, no friends, like just me. And where those tend to be is like hot springs or beach, like, because they're my favorite. Like, I love water. And so I knew, I'd already told my husband, Christopher, I'm like, it's been a little too long. I need to have some me time. I need to have like a break. And he's like, okay. And so randomly one day I was like, I don't know why, but like, let's just see if like there's a Vipassana real soon. It just randomly, like, I just picked up my phone and I started looking, and like most of them, you're out for months. And I was like looking through, and it was like Hawaii. And I'm like, what? They do Vipassana in Hawaii? That is the coolest. Because if there's any place to do it, I want to do it there. And so I clicked on it, and they were like, one starts in like 2 or 3 days. And of course it was full. And I'm just like, whoa, there's one in 3 days. And I'm like, I don't know why, but I do know why, because my higher self is like, you're going to go to that. So you're going to like send them a message and say, hey, just so you know, if you have a spot open, I want to go. And I did. And they immediately responded. And it was just so perfect, because the people that attend, like 2 to 3 days before, they get an email saying, you have to confirm that you're coming. So of course there's going to be people that drop out at the last minute because they probably signed up, I don't know, 3 months ago. So they sent it back. They're like, yes, we will take you. And especially being an old student, it was a lot easier. So that's
Totally. Yeah.
I was an old student, so I've done it before. But I was just like, whoa. And then it was funny because like all these things came up within me, like resistance, right? And I'm like, no, I can't leave my kids like for 10 days, and I won't even be able to talk to them once at all. Like, my son is 2. And then I was like, no, this is just too quick, like maybe in 6. It was cute because my husband knows. My husband's like, shut up. Your freaking heart already knows, like you're going. And I'm like, I know, right? I'm like, okay, like I'm doing this. And so, yeah, I hopped on a plane and headed out, and here we are at Vipassana.
Nice. Now, for those who don't know what Vipassana is, what is it?
So it's a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And it's all done through, like giving. So anybody can do it. Your first time doing it, like you don't have to pay anything. You just basically sign up. And we can probably put the website in.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I'll link them up. I think it's dharma.org or something like
Dharma,
that.
that's okay. So you just go there and you just basically find, they have retreats all around the world, and you just find one and you just sign up for a sit. And your first one always has to be the 10-day. So once you become, do it once, you become an old student. And I think they have some 3-day courses. And that was the other thing. My mind's like, well, 10 days, like I'm just going to find a 3-day course. And it was like, no, you have to go to this 10-day again. And so yeah, it's just a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
You can't talk. You can't look anybody in the eye. You cannot read. You cannot write. That was the hardest part for me, not being able to create anything. You can't work out. You can walk the nature trail. You eat vegan food 2 times a day, because then you have like a little ginger tea in the evening for your dinner. So you're kind of fasting a bit. And then you meditate like 10 to 12 hours a day. It's intense. For me, it was one of the most physically, emotionally, and spiritually hard things to do. Like in all levels. It hurt. My body hurt, my emotions hurt, my spirit hurt. Like it was intense. I've done Spartan races, and it is equally as physically intense. And it sounds crazy. It's like you sat for 10 hours. How physically hard can it be? It's fucking hard. It's hard.
Okay, so that's so funny because that's one of the things that came up for me. So day 4 and day 5 kicked my freaking trash. And for me, and it's different for everybody. Sometimes it's this day 2, 3, it's just all different. But if anybody knows me, like I know pain really well, right? I just told you a little bit about my journey. I know about hard. And one of my commitments in life, and something that I made a commitment to during Lyme too, was how can this be friendly and easy? And it's something that I share a lot, and I, even with clients and things like that, I'm like, how can this experience be really fun and friendly and easy? And I'm all about play. So all my stuff is transformation through play. Like, I just want to play all the time. And we really do experience and create massive transformation, and it's all done through play. And that doesn't mean that, we have all the emotions, like we do it through play. And in the midst of that, everything comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, like here I am. But that was what you said about this is hard. Like it was hard work. That is exactly what it is, you guys. And talk about the work. Like this to me was like the work of the work, like doing the work. It was so incredibly uncomfortable. And what I met, on day 4, day 5, my ego was so freaking big, but I could see it like playing out. But I was literally ready to leave. And if you know me, I'm like, if I commit to something, I'm like, I go all full in, like here, like, so for me to be like, I'm out of here. Like I had like a really great excuse. I was like, I'm done. I wasn't feeling well. Like, I mean, everything was coming to the surface. And then the big thing, I was like, fuck this. It's so cute. But I'm like, fuck this. I choose easy. And this shit is hard as fuck. was like, I just want to go play. And I'm on Hawaii, damn it. Like, I want to go to the beach. And so I was like struggling, like just so, like, it was just so big. I was so thick in it. And then of course, so my meditation, like all of this was arising. There's so much deep, like frustration, anger, rage, sadness, just like coming up, which was for me really intense sensations and gross, sensations. And I was like, dude, this is not fun at all. Like, if I just have to sit in this all the freaking time, like, fuck this. Like, I'm done.
Yep. It's interesting you say like day 4 or 5, because that was when I kind of hit my fuck it moment too. But I had committed. I was like, I'm here. I've committed. I'm not gonna quit. It's like when I went skydiving. My wife was freaking out. She was the one that wanted us to go. And when we got there, she's like, oh no, I think we should. I'm like, no, I've already made it mine. We may die today. Like when we pulled in the parking lot, I already knew like, hey, we may die today. We're good. We're jumping out of that plane. Even if we don't have a parachute, we have committed. It is done. So when I went into Vipassana, it was the similar thing for me. So I would have totally grinded it out for the other days if I had to, but it totally switched for me by day 8 was when I started feeling like every cell in my body vibrating, and I was like, whoa, there's my body. And then like my soul. And I was like, definitely kind of in the paradox between the two spaces for me. So what was your experience like?
Yeah. And that's usually what I would say happens is it's around day 7, day 8, sometimes day 9 is when that literally, like, there's this huge shift. It's like, and that was my experience as well. So, I would say, like, so some of the challenges, like, is what you said, as around, nothing. You have nothing. No music, no journal, no books. Like, you are really asked to be with yourself, like, as never before. And like, again and again. So it's like, okay, yeah, I've done my meditations or I've done my breath work, but it's like, okay, here's an hour in the day, right? And it's phenomenal and it's powerful. Just, putting that out there, you guys. Well, number one, most people are like, I don't have an hour today to meditate. And I'm like, okay, well, you get to reprioritize some things, because that is like, should be the number one priority. Whether, 30 minutes, hour, I guarantee you have an hour. You may not think you do, but once you shift your relationship to time, that will change. So that, but again, an hour, but then I can go and do my thing, right? And when you're like, okay, well, you're going to sit with yourself for an hour and be with yourself and breathe and meditate and all of that. And then when you're done, you don't get to go do all those other things. Like, cause even that, like, have you had those moments where like, you're like meditating, you're like, okay, well, when I'm done, I can do this,
Totally,
this,
of course,
right?
of course.
Like, you're like, you didn't have that option. You're like, you can't do any of those things. The most, maybe you could go for a little walk on certain breaks and lunch, but you're just, again, like forced to like really be with yourself at the most deep levels and intimate levels. And it's beautiful because it brings you back to that again and again. There's no escape. You can't escape yourself in this experience. And majority of people that I've talked to, every single one of them have wanted to run at some point. Like, they've all had this like, want to give up moment where they're like, I'm done. And I think that that's how it is in life, where it's like, you get to those moments and you're like, I am done. And it's like right after that, when you're like, just keep going. It's right after that, you have this powerful shift, transformation, change, success, like all those things, like right when you want to give up.
So true.
And so that's how it was. And so, and it was, so for me going the second time, so usually, and I would say for everybody, you're dealing with the monkey mind for the first couple days. Like, I mean, just bringing, like, you are mastering your mind, like, so big. It's like coming back. And then you're just working with your breath. So the first few days we're actually working more with just Anapana, I believe it is.
Yep.
Which is like with the breath. And then we don't even go into Vipassana till day 4. So I was just aware of that, like, again, how big my monkey mind was coming in. And it was a deepening of mastering my mind and my thoughts for the first part. And then day 4, when we hit Vipassana, when we did Vipassana for the very first time, and I've done it, so I knew, pretty much what was coming and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally ready for Vipassana. I've done this. And I've even meditated Vipassana style. So I was like, yeah, I'm so ready. It was so beautiful because everything leads, like, it's like I'm saying, this, you have to get this, and then the next piece will come, and the next piece will come. And when I did Vipassana, which is like an hour and a half sit, or it's like 90 minutes, I think. And
I think they call it the sitting of strong determination.
Yes, it is. And I was determined not to move. So, they have this strong determination during it, and it's not till later in the process, but where you sit and you don't move. And that's part of the first days is you're mastering your mind, you're mastering your body. Like, you want to, shift your posture and do all this stuff. So the first day you're just like, moving constantly. Like, let me get in this like position that like I'll be comfortable in, and you're mastering it at. And then as it gets more and more, you come to strong determination. And so my first Vipassana, or like when I did the Vipassana this time, I went so deep within the framework of my body. And that was what I got so big this time is, because even in some of my meditations and breath work and stuff, I can really expand out, you guys, like cosmically. I mean, going into like dimensions and beautifully. And this time it was like, I'm taking you so deep in here. Like, there's the cosmos out here. Well, they're in here too. Like, they're right here within you. And I'm going to like take you into that. And so it was going so deep within the framework of my body. I didn't expect that. And when I did Vipassana, I went so deep, and all of this stuff came to the surface, like deep, deep sankharas. And my experience, and I actually haven't talked to anybody about their first time doing Vipassana in that strong determination. And your eyes are closed. So you don't know what is happening with anybody else. And that's what's beautiful, is like, you're in your own process, you're in your own experience. And I'm not even aware of anybody. So I don't even know what their experience was, but I was bawling. I mean, tears pouring down my cheek. And I know this is kind of weird, but it won't be weird for some. Like, I really felt like I went through my own Gethsemane. That is how it was for me this time. On the first round of Vipassana, 90 minutes, I could just feel like the pain of the world. I could feel all this agony. I could feel, just every range of emotion, and my body, it was so intense. And to just be with it. And I mean, it was just flowing. It was flowing. And then when I got done, number one, like, I was just like, whoa, like, just so cracked open, and I was so raw, and it was beautiful. I walked outside, and there was only one part, because we were kind of actually more in the like forest jungle part. We weren't by the beach or anything. It's more tucked up in the trees and everything, but there was only one area where the trees were kind of like open, and you could kind of see this valley, and it was beautiful, but it was just a little section. I walked out, and I saw the biggest rainbow I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so huge, and it was so right. It was like I could touch it. It was so close. And then the waves started, and I'm just like, yeah, like, that's what it felt like. It was like this rainbow after this huge freaking storm, because that's literally what it felt like. And then for the rest of the day, I was just wave after wave. Like, I was like in my tent, and I'm like crying, and I'm like, and here it is. Oh my gosh, again. Like, it was just wave after wave, as emotions do. And it was so intense. And then my sits after that were really, really intense for day 4 and day 5, where I was hit, and I set it up perfectly, because my ego, like, I get really like, I'm going to do this right. Like, and I'm going to do it good. And I'm going to be like the good girl that like I didn't have any back support. And I'm like, I'm going to like, part of me was like, I'm going to get there, and I'm going to have strong determination on day 1, first meditation, And so by day 5, my body was exhausted, mentally, emotionally, physically, and I hadn't had any back support at that time, and I was done. And then that's like day 5, it was just this constant battle with my ego, with my mind, of like, it's like, what are you doing? You do all sorts of stuff, like, and you've already gotten what you need. Like, that was the thing. I was like, cool, I'm just going to go to the beach. I'm going to get a hotel. Like, I had it planned out. Like, I'm going to get a hotel for the next 5 days. I'm going to be on the beach, which is where, like, I want to be. Like, I want to be in the ocean. Like, I'm in Hawaii. And I'll still do my meditations. I'll still do it, but like, in the comfy, and I'm like, I just want I slept on a cot, and they know what they're doing. And that's the beautiful thing with Vipassana, is they do know what they're doing, and you have a lot of support there. But they know, and the teachers know exactly how to just guide you when those things come up, because they come up for, I would say everybody. And so, but with everything too, the way that they do the food, and especially being a second student, you stop eating at noon, and you don't eat the rest of the day. And, you don't have that comfortable bedding. I was in basically tents, and we were on a cot. So I did not sleep very well. Like, my body physically, it's just like breaking you down and breaking you open. And then through that, it's just saying, how can you be with this? And I'm just observing it. And it's that dance of like, oh, like, this is intense. Or like, we even have those beautiful, amazing experiences of the sensations, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then we go into craving. And so that's the beautiful thing, that there is like that beautiful state of equanimity, where you're not being like pulled in either direction of like, oh, this is really sick, and it's just in this place of, for me, it's just total beingness and total, observation and witnessing what arises.
Yeah, to me, that was like my big lesson too, because that's almost like what surrender is, right? Is just the witnessing of it moment by moment, the sensations where you're not trying to avert the pain, you're not craving the pleasure, you are being in that pocket of equanimity. And it's super hard to do it, but that's like for me, that was one of my biggest practical lessons from that journey for myself, bringing it back into everyday life. I found a lot more joy and a lot more freedom in staying in that pocket. I don't always do it. I'm human, but I try to remember and bring it back to not craving and not averting it. And when I do that, there's a lot that to me is probably the surrender piece that you probably even dealt with in the chronic Lyme's disease, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And this is just taking it for me a deeper level. Again, just noticing like where it was that, like, because these sensations were so intense. I haven't experienced that in a long time. Even with like my breath work and stuff like that, it was not that intense, but I'm going so deep that it's like I'm observing these sensations in a completely different way. And, it's starting with like, oh, this is just pain. And it's like, okay, like, let's go deeper. And that's what's been so beautiful for me. And like what I've taken back from this too, is like, there's this level of, there's something happening, and there's this level of truth, but there's something even deeper. Like there's even something even more true. And especially when we bring it back to the body, is like, because first of all, we think, oh, this is happening. It's like, no, this is like what the mind is making up. But then you come to the body, because the body is what's telling the truth. The body never lies. And it's like, hey, well, what's happening within the body? And it's like, hey, well, it's in pain. Okay, well, where is that at? And what is that pain? Right? Because at the end of the day, and this is the thing that I love so much about Vipassana and always have, is it's all just sensation. And I just got that at even a deeper level, like, starting like, oh, there's this sensation, and oh, and even that, we'd be like, that's anger or sadness or whatever. And then we go deeper, and it's like, okay, well, now there's this sensation that's happening, right? But then we go even deeper, and there's even something else. And it's like truth, right? It's like, and at the, the truth of it is we're energy, right? We're frequency, we're light, we're sensation. And that's what it was like for me to go deeper and deeper. There was this beautiful experience I had when I went back to my tent one day and was meditating in my tent, and I went super deep. And there was roosters on the property that would wake us up like at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, like, and we're like, for the first 2 days, yes, I had a reaction to that. But by day like 3, I was like, oh, that's quite pleasant. Oh, okay. Like, hi, like, it was awesome. Like, that's how it is. Like with life, like we're reacting to all these things, and there's so much like happening and so much we're not aware of. And so it was like deepening this awareness of all that is and all that is happening around me. And so there was like camps, and I was like the third camp, and the roosters usually didn't make it down to our camp. Like they were up by the main meditation hall most of the time. Well, this little rooster came right by my tent, like clear into the third camp. And I'm in like the deepest, like I'm in a deep, deep meditation, and it does its thing. It's like, and it was so like, it cool to me. Like, I was like, I mean, I stayed there, but I was like, holy shit, because I could feel, like I heard it, right? The sound. No, I literally felt the entire vibration move through my body. And it was so awesome. Like, and that's what I really feel like we're missing out all the time. Like the more aware we become, like there's so much available to us in life to, you know, feeling something, whether that's, you know, something that most people would say annoying, like a rooster's crow, to actually feel that vibration move through my body, you know, to, you know, just the simplest of things. And then obviously it's a reflection. So the more I am here, then this is a reflection in my world, and just to witness, you know, everything, to seeing the bee and the dragonfly and it humming, and like seeing and experiencing that in a deeper way, because I'm so connected here and present, and I'm aware of like what's happening here, and I'm aware of my breath. And so I'm in the present moment. And when we're in the present moment, we have so much available to us, you guys, that I feel we don't see and we don't experience. So much love and awesomeness and fun. And it's just, it was so cool for me. And that was one thing, to actually like feel the vibration through my body. So that was one thing, of feeling the vibration. And then obviously in the meditating is going deeper and deeper. By day, you know, like I was saying, it was probably around 7, 8, you know, those intense sensations. Well, one of the things I had to do was check my ego. And I, you know, that night I went and talked to the teacher for a moment, and she suggested, like, let's get you a back rest, you know, like your body is like needing some support here. And I was like, no, I can't, right? And so I did. And that helped me immensely, that I was able to actually like relax and like go so much deeper. But my ego was like fighting that, like, which is just part of my own stuff, like my, you know, my awesome shadows, where it's like, you know, I can do this. I'm a rock star, and like I got this. And so I got the back support, which after I got that, there was times I'd sit up and I wouldn't use it, and then there was times I would be like, yeah, I want to use it this time. And it was actually up against the wall, it wasn't a back support. But then I was able to, moving through that, and then moving through day 5, and day 6 I woke up feeling so different, so much better. I'm like, okay, let's give this another try. Went to the hall, and everything changed, and my sensations changed, as is what Vipassana is all about. Is it's always changing. This too will pass. It's not like this is going to be here forever. And it's all like, it's always, it's constantly changing. And so I was like seeing it, number one, more through neutrality than ever. And as the days got, I would say probably with you, it's just like you came more where you were able to like come back to that neutrality, come back to that, you know, equanimity of just like in total balance of just observing and witnessing, not averting, not like, oh, this, you know, or craving or anything. And then everything changed. And then I was going so much deeper to where experiencing just the most incredible sensations. And I'm like, this, and when that happened too, like for me, I was just like, this is so awesome. This is life. Like, whoa, like this is what's happening inside of me. This, like, you know, and even that I was with, at one time I was with a particular experience, because where I felt the majority of my intensity and pain has been on my left side. And there's stuff that I've been working on with here and with my left side, and my all the way from my back, all the way up through my neck is where I hold a lot of my tension and frustration. Like just, so that was like so intense the first few days. Right. And it was like just fighting, like it was so like tight and so intense. And it was changing, but it was like always just, oh, this freaking sucks. This is painful. This is shitty. And then it was in the exact same spot where when, you know, I'd go deeper, it would change. And then as I went deeper and deeper, like the energy moving, it was like this fiery sensation and like, I mean, energy. And it was so fascinating that like, I just stayed there for, I don't even know how long, but I was just like, I could almost stay here forever because I was like, this is so cool. And there, even my curiousness came out of like, oh, and what's happening now? Oh, and now look at this. Oh, and now this, like it came down a little, like, but it was all like where it was actually the most intense is where also it showed up. But that, taking it deeper, there was so much more that was happening. And it was so awesome to me to experience that.
What was like your biggest practical breakthrough that you experienced there? Or it could be a lesson. It could be either breakthrough or lesson.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, but like, and a lot of the things it's like I've already experienced before, but it was just taking it so much deeper. It's like funny because it's like so many of these things I teach and I share and, but it's like I had an experience of it in a whole new way. And it was like deeper, like so deep, like I was saying, like within the framework of my body. And so, you know, just massive appreciation for this experience, for my body, for the you know, there was a big thing again of like this too will change, and then just me coming into present moment, like more and more and more, like with the practice of that, then that was like moving through the day and through the whole, you know, the whole 10 days just became more and more of like being aware of me moving, like being aware of the subtle sensations as I was moving and being aware of my breath. And so continuously coming back to that. There's so much that's happening all the time. So it was just like, oh, am I listening? It helped me to really listen at a deeper level, be with myself at a deeper level. And
what I hear you saying is like how precious the gift of life truly is. Like how precious the gift of a rooster crowing really is a gift to have as a human. Like we could be a fucking rock, we could be a rooster, we could be a tree, we could be a fucking alien, we could be, there's unlimited potential, right? But for whatever reason, our soul chose to come to earth to have a human experience as you, as me, as whoever is listening. And that's the gift. That's what I'm hearing you say.
like, yeah, really, like exactly, like this life is such a gift, this body is such a gift, like this body, like I mean, I just had so much appreciation and just seeing things through new eyes, like a new experience of like, it's like what I was saying earlier, like when I can just see somebody as this conscious being with choice, right? It's like this, it's like neutral, and it's like, okay, now they're doing this and now they're doing this, and oh wow, this is really fascinating, and just wow, like what do they want to do? And then with myself, right, like, oh, here I am. And if we can meet ourselves in that way too, you know, it's like, oh, I made a choice, I'm making these choices moment to moment, and I get, that's how it is every single moment, I get to choose, what do I choose now? And that life is, it's right here, it's happening, like, are you aware of it? Because it's here and it's so freaking miraculous. Like, are we paying attention? Are we present enough to actually feel what is here and what a gift it is to feel? And then like, I would say the last thing too is just, again, I was saying these deep rooted sankharas came up for me. And I was like, wow, like I didn't realize how much more was there. And there is, but also like this, like gratitude, like I'm like, the more I can just be with that and be with these sensations and come to myself and be just this witness. Like, again, there's nothing you need to do. Like, it's literally doing everything for you. Like, the only thing that we're doing is we're just becoming more aware. And that's what I said too, like when around Lyme is like, or people like, they want to put on these labels, and I see it all the time, and I get it because I was that. Like, I literally was like, yeah, like I have chronic Lyme, you know? And it was like, that was a shift that I had to make. That was another lesson that I got to experience, because I came towards the end, and it was actually before my last crash, where I was like, I had an actual direct experience where I was complete with Lyme. And there was this testing ground where people would be like, oh, like, how's the Lyme? Like all this kind of stuff. Or like when I'd start to feel sick or something. So even actually my last crash did not have to do with Lyme. At that point, Lyme had come into completion. And so when I hit rock bottom, like I was in bed, everybody's like, it's Lyme again. And I'm like, it's not. Like, stop saying that. Like, I literally had to tell my husband. There was one time he said that, and I'm like, you need to understand, this is not Lyme. All right. And it's like that. It's like, we want to put these labels on it. Oh, there's cancer, there's this. And for me, I'm saying there's something, like, it's just something deeper moving through you. That's asking for your loving attention and awareness. That is it. That's all any of it is. We want to make up something about it. We want to put a label on it. We want to put a story, which is the very thing that brings us into judgment and brings us into fear, which is what is holding the whole thing and causing bigger problems. But if we can just say, oh, all right, something's here, something's moving through me. And really, it's like I've said, you know, and I don't remember who I got it from, but it was like, you're not sick. You're just becoming more aware. That's it. Isn't that beautiful? Like, what if we were told that our entire life? Because we're becoming, like, even in a sickness, we are becoming so much more aware of what's happening here. It's like when I do get a little cold or something, it's saying, hey, pay attention. Like, right? Come back to present. Like, you know, I'm showing you something. It's bringing you back to being aware, of being conscious, like, oh, what's going on here? And so that's the beauty of this. And like all of these things is that we don't have anything to do. It's just like, if we can just be aware of it, it can literally move right through us. And that's the beauty of these sankharas and these things is, number one, surrender and open up to that and just let it move through you. And it's done. And it's actually done. I mean, that's part of Vipassana, and what, you know, the Buddha or whatever would teach is like, when you get to the root of that, like these sankharas, it's done. Like the sankharas are finite. You are infinite, but the sankharas are finite. You will come to a point as you be with that and move and you know, release all these things, you will come to that point. And it's all just this reflection. So the more and more I be with this, then my world outside is just this reflection of that, of moving through life through this beautiful flow and dance of neutrality, of equanimity, just total calm state of peace, of unconditional love. And you don't take anything personal. Like, it's not about you. It's never was about you. And you don't even have to take it on, because you know, it's only when there's this stuff here that I want to believe all these things or attach or make something up about it. And, you know, this experience, like, it will take you out of the personal mind and will drop you into the higher heart. That's what's happening.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self some wisdom that would help her collapse some time and generate more results here in life, what would you tell her?
Wow, I'm actually surprised at what just came through. What came through for me at this moment was, I'm right here with you. And I got you. Like, and I'm saying that to her, but it's like also like this almost multidimensional aspect of myself. Like you got this. Like, I'm right here with you, and I'm right here with you. I'm loving you, and I'm carrying you through this. Like, you can't, which is just, it goes deeper of like, you can't do this wrong. You can't screw up. Like, you're on this beautiful path of learning and growing, but like, there's nothing you need to do. I got you. Like, life is gonna these things, but it'll all change, and we're all there. Like, we're all getting there. So just relax and surrender Like,
Awesome.
I got you. Thank you.
Well, thanks for being here today. If people want to learn more about you, they want to connect with you, they can go to facebook.com/Megan. That's MEGAN.Darger, DARGER. We'll drop that in the show notes. You and your husband do a retreat. It's called Sextasy. I know that you can't do one right now, just with the current world events. You guys will be doing another one. If people want to learn more about that, they can go to sextasyretreat.com. Is there anywhere else you want them to go connect with you or anything like that?
Mostly on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It was such a pleasure and an honor.
But there you have it, my friend, Megan Darger. Now, that was an amazing, deep conversation. I really didn't anticipate us diving into a conversation where we talked about surrendering to death, yet it makes perfect sense to me. Like, if we don't fully surrender to death, then how can we truly have the capacity to unconditionally love ourselves and other people? And there's just so much goodness in this episode. It was deep, it was juicy, it was amazing, and it was a really great reminder for me to like really embrace the gift that life really is, like a gift. You know what I mean? Like, what a reminder. It was so good. Like when she shared that rooster crowing thing and feeling the vibrations from the rooster, like that was amazing. I could just like feel it. I could sense it. I could see it. And I'm like, man, what a gift this life is. So I hope this episode served you, and I hope you were able to glean a lot of wisdom from it and really see how Vipassana meditation can transform your life. Now, before we go, I want to let you know that I actually love to hear from you. I'd love to know like what you're thinking of this podcast. I'd love to know if you have any suggestions on things that you'd like to hear more about on the show. And yes, that little noise was my calendar notifications going off, letting me know it's time for me to take care of my daughter in an hour. Back to the point here. We are approaching nearly 50 episodes of this show now, which is crazy. And so I would love to hear from you. Please connect with me over on Facebook at facebook.com/AJAmix. Simply go over there, send me a direct message. I'd really love to hear how this podcast is impacting you. If you have any ideas on guests that you'd like to hear on the show, or topics that you'd like to learn more about, like really any feedback, I would love to hear it. Please just connect with me over at Facebook at facebook.com/AJAmix. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Anthony John Amos podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, my friend, I'm out. Peace.
Well, that's all I've got for this episode of the Anthony John Amos podcast, but we have plenty more to help you become unstoppable in life and business. So head on over to ajamix.com for exclusive resources, information, and tools to help you break through to a new level of freedom, purpose, and success. I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Bye for now.